What if your body is telling the story your heart cannot? There is a kind of pain the world cannot see. It hides beneath perfect smiles, behind normal test results, under whispered reassurances that everything is fine. But inside, the body is screaming, the mind is bleeding, and the soul is begging to be heard. Today, we step into that silent war. Today, we listen to the wounds no one else believes. Welcome to BrainTrap TV. This is the story of invisible pain and the unseen courage it takes to survive it. What if the pain you feel is real, but the wound is invisible? What if every muscle ache, every racing heartbeat, every exhausted breath was not born from a virus or a broken bone, but from something deeper, something hidden in the dark corridors of your mind? Would you believe it? Would anyone? There are countless people walking among us who are prisoners inside their own bodies. They visit doctors again and again, seeking answers, seeking relief, desperate for someone to tell them why they hurt, only to be told their tests are normal, that they are fine. But they are not fine. They are fighting a silent war. And the cruelest twist? The enemy lives inside them. Imagine waking up every day with pain in your chest, so tight you wonder if you're having a heart attack. Imagine being rushed to the hospital, lying under fluorescent lights, hearing monitors beep around you, terrified, only for a doctor to return with a soft smile and say, "You're perfectly healthy." Imagine the shame, the confusion, the slow, gnawing fear that maybe, just maybe, you're losing your mind. Psychosomatic, a word that sounds almost accusing, almost dismissive, but it is neither. It is the reality that our minds, in their extraordinary, unfathomable power, can manifest real, physical suffering from emotional wounds we don't even know we're carrying. It is the body's cry when the soul is in agony. It is the manifestation of grief, fear, guilt, rage, emotions too overwhelming to process, leaking into our bones, our nerves, our very cells. The body, desperate to scream what the heart is too afraid to say, turns emotions into symptoms. And so a woman crushed by unbearable grief after losing her child begins to experience crushing chest pain. A man drowning in anxiety after years of silent pressure at work finds his legs trembling uncontrollably when he stands. A child bullied into silence develops migraines so blinding they can barely see the world that hurts them. None of it is imagined. None of it is fake. It is as real as any broken bone, any virus or infection. But it is invisible. And because it is invisible, it is so often dismissed, mocked, ignored, or worse, turned inward into self-hatred, as the person suffering begins to believe the lie that it is somehow their fault. There is a story that plays out again and again, quietly, behind closed doors. A young woman sits in her car outside the hospital, clutching the steering wheel so tightly that her knuckles turn white. Inside, the doctors had smiled politely, patted her on the hand, told her to relax and not worry so much. They had not felt the way her heart skipped beats in terror. They had not seen the moments where she stood in the grocery store, frozen in place, unable to breathe as panic clawed at her lungs. They did not live in her body, a body at war with itself. She stares through the windshield, watching the world move on without her. The mothers pushing strollers, the joggers laughing into the wind, the teenagers scrolling through their phones. How do you explain to them that you are a ghost in your own skin? How do you ask for help when even you don't understand what is happening to you? The truth is brutal. We are taught from the time we are small to toughen up, to ignore the trembling in our hands, the tightness in our throats, to push down tears, to laugh off fears. We learn to bury our emotions in deep, dark places inside us. And we convince ourselves that if we bury them deep enough, they will disappear. But they don't. They wait. They wait until the body can no longer hold them, until the mind's desperate attempt to silence pain spills over into the physical world. And suddenly, you find yourself lying in bed, unable to move without agony, or clutching your chest in terror with no reason you can see, or vomiting before important meetings, or experiencing skin rashes that doctors cannot explain, or losing the strength to even get out of bed, as if your very soul has turned to stone inside you. Psychosomatic symptoms are not a weakness. They are not a failure. They are the mind's final scream for help, a desperate attempt to be heard, to force you, and the world, to listen. Because when emotional wounds are ignored long enough, they do not die. They evolve. They become flesh and blood and bone. And they demand to be felt. You cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot silence what was meant to be spoken. The mind and body are not separate. They are two halves of the same soul, bound together in a fragile, miraculous dance. When one suffers, the other does too. So if you are hurting in ways no one can see, if you are drowning in symptoms no test can name, know this. You are not crazy. You are not weak. You are not alone. You are fighting a battle that most people will never understand. And your pain is real. The mind is a universe. Vast, unexplored, powerful beyond measure. And yet, we walk through life as if our thoughts are harmless clouds, drifting in and out of our consciousness without consequence. We pretend that emotions are soft things. That fear, grief, anger, despair, they are abstract, weightless. But they are not. They are heavy. They are alive. And when ignored, they will find their way into the body. Science tells us that the brain is not just an organ. It is the command center of our entire existence. With a single thought, a single emotion, the brain can trigger a cascade of reactions across the body, faster than the blink of an eye, deeper than any wound a knife could make. Fear alone can set it in motion. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff. You look down. The world tilts. In that instant, without conscious thought, your heart races, your palms sweat, your stomach churns. Your body believes it is in danger, even if you are perfectly safe. This is the mind speaking to the body, and the body obeying without question. Now imagine living in that state of fear, not for a moment, but for days, months, years. The mind whispers, "You are not safe," and the body listens. It adapts to survive. It pumps out adrenaline, floods itself with cortisol, braces every muscle for attack. The body cannot tell the difference between a real threat and an imagined one. It only knows what it is told. And it is told, over and over, to prepare for war. But there is no enemy to fight, no battle to win. Only the endless, grinding erosion of the body under the weight of invisible fears. The nervous system is not designed to live in constant alertness. The chemicals meant to save your life in a moment of crisis become poison when they flood your veins without end. Blood vessels constrict. The immune system falters. Digestion slows to a crawl. Muscles tighten and refuse to release. Organs begin to fail. And so the body starts to break in ways that doctors cannot always trace. Stomach ulcers bloom from swallowed rage. Chronic headaches are born from uncried tears. A heart stutters and strains from years of bottled fear. This is not imagination. This is biology. This is the brutal, undeniable reality of a body enslaved by an unhealed mind. And it is not just fear that wields this power. Grief, too, can tear the body apart. Loss leaves wounds so deep that the heart, desperate to express its agony, may literally falter. Broken heart syndrome, they call it, a real medical condition where grief mimics the symptoms of a heart attack. The person can die, not from injury, not from illness, but from sadness. Tell me again that emotions are harmless. There are moments, too, when the body uses illness as a shield. When the mind, overwhelmed by trauma, forces the body to become ill because it is the only way to make the world stop. To make someone, anyone, pay attention. To buy time to heal. The brain is both protector and betrayer. It will do anything, to keep you alive, even if it means sacrificing your comfort, your strength, your health. And when healing does not come, when the true wound remains untouched, the symptoms remain. They grow roots. They weave themselves into your identity. Until one day you wake up and no longer remember what it feels like to be pain-free. You see, the mind is not an island, isolated and alone. It is the storm that shakes the ocean of your body. It is the hand that paints your reality. When we say psychosomatic, what we mean is that the mind and the body are speaking in a language we have forgotten how to hear. The body screams, but we do not listen, and so it screams louder. A young boy grows up in a house filled with violence. He flinches at every slammed door, every raised voice. As he grows older, he develops a stutter. No one connects the dots. No one sees that his body, terrified to speak the wrong word at the wrong time, chose to stutter as a way to survive. It is not weakness. It is wisdom, carved into flesh. A woman, abandoned by the person she loved most, begins to suffer chronic back pain. Doctors find no injury, but she carries the weight of betrayal on her shoulders every single day. Her body bears a burden her heart cannot release. A man, pushed beyond his limits by a life of expectations and silent sacrifice, wakes up one morning unable to move his hands. Tests are normal, muscles intact, nerves unbroken, but his mind, weary and wounded, has forced his body to shut down. It is the only way left to cry for help. We are taught to divide ourselves into pieces, mind here, body there. But they are one, and when the mind suffers, the body carries the scars. We must begin to understand this truth, not with cold clinical words, but with compassion, not with skepticism, but with awe, because the mind, in all its beauty and terror, has the power to create suffering, but it also holds the power to heal. And that journey, the journey of turning inward, of listening to the unspoken stories inside us, of tending the hidden wounds, is the hardest and most necessary work we will ever do. You are not broken because you hurt. You are not weak because your body cries out. You are not less because your pain has no easy name. You are human, and in your humanity, you are both fragile and infinitely strong. The mind can destroy, but it can also rebuild. And somewhere inside you, even now, even in this moment, there is a part of you that has never given up. A part that knows, somehow, that healing is possible, that light can reach even the darkest places, and that your story, the story of your survival, your struggle, your healing, is not over yet. Not yet. There is a loneliness that comes with invisible pain, a silence so heavy it threatens to crush you from the inside out. When your wounds are visible, when your arm is broken or your skin is bruised, people rush to your side. They gasp, they offer sympathy, they ask, "What happened?" There is comfort in being seen. There is validation in the recognition of your suffering. But when the body breaks under the weight of unseen battles, when your heart pounds in terror for no reason, when your joints ache and your muscles tremble and no scan, no x-ray, no blood test can explain why, you are met with something far more cruel. Doubt. You see it in their eyes, even if they smile politely. You hear it in their voices when they say, "Maybe you're just stressed," or "Have you tried thinking more positively?" You feel it like a knife twisting between your ribs every time someone says, "But you look fine," as if suffering must wear a visible scar to be believed. There is no worse prison than a body that betrays you while the world accuses you of faking your own chains. At first, you try to explain. You try to find the right words to paint the storm raging inside you. You talk about the exhaustion that no amount of sleep can cure, the pain that moves and shifts without reason, the terror that tightens around your throat at the slightest sound, the lightest touch. But after a while, you stop. You stop because the words always fall short. You stop because you are tired of the pitying looks, the awkward silences, the subtle shifting of blame. You stop because it is easier to bear the pain in silence than to endure the loneliness of being disbelieved. Isolation becomes your constant companion. There are days when you lie in bed staring at the ceiling, feeling the minutes crawl past like hours. You listen to the world outside, the laughter, the music, the normalcy, and it feels as distant and unreachable as the stars. You wonder if you will ever feel normal again, if you ever truly did. Depression slinks into the corners of your mind, a shadow growing darker with every unanswered cry for help. It whispers lies so convincingly that you begin to believe them. You are weak. You are broken. You are a burden. Shame coils itself around your spirit like a serpent. It hisses that you are exaggerating, that you are making excuses, that you should be stronger, better, tougher. And because no one else seems to understand your pain, you begin to doubt yourself. Maybe it really is your fault. Maybe you are just weak. Maybe you deserve this. The spiral is slow at first, almost imperceptible. But one day you wake up and realize you no longer recognize the person in the mirror. The sparkle in your eyes has dulled. Your shoulders are bowed, not just from pain, but from the invisible weight of guilt. You move through the world like a ghost, unseen and unheard, clinging to the faint hope that someone, anyone, might look closer. The cruelest part of psychosomatic suffering is not just the pain itself. It is the slow erosion of your identity. The way the illness seeps into every part of who you are until you no longer know where you end and the sickness begins. You find yourself canceling plans more often than keeping them. You watch friendships wither under the strain of your unreliability. You avoid conversations about your health because you cannot bear to see the discomfort on their faces, the subtle retreat in their posture. You become smaller, quieter, a shadow of the person you once were. And somewhere deep inside, beneath all the grief and anger and exhaustion, a terrible fear takes root. The fear that this will never end. That you are trapped in this broken body, in this broken life, forever. But even in the deepest darkness, there is a spark that refuses to die. It flickers when you find someone, maybe a doctor, maybe a therapist, maybe just a friend, who listens without judgment. It glows a little brighter when you read the story of someone else who has lived your pain and survived. It flares when you realize that you are not alone. You are part of a hidden army. Millions of people who carry invisible wounds, who fight battles no one else can see. Each of them a testament to the strength of the human spirit, to the will to survive even when every breath feels like a betrayal. Your story is not over. Your pain is not the end of you. It is a chapter. A brutal, harrowing chapter, but not the final one. There is life beyond the pain. There is joy beyond the suffering. There is hope beyond the despair. You may not see it now. You may not feel it yet, but it is there, waiting. You have survived every moment you thought would break you. You have carried the weight of an invisible world on your shoulders, and still you stand. Maybe trembling, maybe battered and scarred, but standing. And that, more than anything, is proof that you are stronger than you know. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not alone. You are a survivor. A warrior in a war most people will never even see. And the story of your healing, slow, painful, miraculous, is just beginning. Hold on. The light is closer than you think. There are stories too painful to fit into words. Stories that live in hospital rooms and sleepless nights. Stories that unfold quietly, unseen by the world, but which leave scars deeper than any visible wound. A soldier returns home from war. His body is intact. No bullet wounds, no shrapnel buried in his flesh. From the outside, he is a picture of survival. But every night when he closes his eyes, his mind drags him back into the battlefield. He feels the weight of the gun in his hands. He smells the acrid burn of smoke and blood. And without warning, his legs, strong, powerful legs that once carried him across deserts and through firefights, refuse to move. The doctors find no nerve damage, no spinal injury. But still he cannot walk, because the battlefield he escaped lives inside him now. And his body, overwhelmed by a terror too large to bear, has surrendered to it. A young woman sits in the waiting room of yet another specialist's office. Her skin itches and burns, red rashes blossoming across her body without cause. The creams do nothing. The medications only dull the symptoms for a little while. She smiles politely as she answers the same questions again and again. Are you under stress? Are you sleeping well? Are you sure this isn't anxiety? She wants to scream. Because behind her polite nods and weary smiles is a secret she has never spoken aloud. Every mark on her skin feels like a brand from the memories she cannot escape. Memories of nights when she was not safe. Of a childhood house that felt like a battlefield. Of hands that hurt instead of comforted. Her skin carries what her voice cannot. A little boy sits alone in the nurse's office at school, tears streaming down his face, clutching his stomach. He has been here before. The nurses know his name, know his mother's number by heart. The doctors have run every test they can think of. His body is healthy. They call it abdominal migraines or functional pain. But the truth is simpler and sadder. At home, love comes with screaming matches and slamming doors. At home, every laugh carries the threat of a fight behind it. His body learned long ago that pain is the only language adults seem to hear. And so it speaks for him when his voice cannot. A man in his 40s wakes up every morning with crushing chest pain. He clutches his shirt, gasping, convinced he is dying. Over and over, he rushes to the emergency room. Over and over, they tell him his heart is fine. He goes home with another prescription for anti-anxiety medication and a pamphlet about panic attacks. But no one asks about the job he hates but cannot leave. No one asks about the marriage he feels trapped in, the years of dreams sacrificed for obligations. No one asks about the way he feels his own soul shrinking, day by day, until there is almost nothing left. His heart isn't failing because it is broken physically. It is failing because it has carried too many silent burdens for too long. A teenage girl sits on the edge of her bed, staring at the floor, unable to move. Every muscle aches. Her bones feel as if they are made of lead. Her friends have stopped inviting her places. Her teachers have stopped expecting her to show up. The doctors call it chronic fatigue. But they don't see the weight she carries inside her, the silent grief of a family torn apart by divorce, the guilt of feeling like a burden, the unspoken belief that she is unworthy of joy. Her body is not lazy. It is grieving. It is exhausted from pretending to be okay. There are thousands, millions of stories like these. Stories that medicine cannot always explain. Stories that science is only beginning to understand. Stories that scream from inside bodies that have been told, again and again, to be silent. Not every pain has a visible cause. Not every injury bleeds. Sometimes, the deepest wounds are carved by words not spoken, by dreams not realized, by fears not faced. And the body, loyal and desperate to protect, takes on that burden in the only way it knows how. Through pain, through weakness, through illness. There is a cruel irony to psychosomatic suffering. It demands to be recognized, and yet it is so often dismissed. It cries for compassion, and yet it is met with judgment. It begs for healing, and yet it is told to simply think differently, be stronger, get over it. But it is not that simple. You cannot heal a wound you refuse to see. You cannot fix a body whose only crime is trying to save you. Every psychosomatic symptom is a message, a story written in flesh and blood, a desperate plea for help from a part of yourself that has been silenced for too long. Listen to the stories. Listen to the soldier who cannot walk, not because he is weak, but because his soul has carried too much war. Listen to the woman whose skin burns with the memories of a childhood lost to fear. Listen to the child whose stomach knots with every raised voice. Listen to the man whose heart breaks a little more every day. Listen to the girl who is too tired to pretend anymore. Their suffering is real. Their pain is real. Their courage to keep going, to keep fighting, to keep hoping is extraordinary. The road to healing is not easy. It is not straight. It is not simple. It requires facing the monsters that live inside us. It requires unearthing the grief, the rage, the terror we buried so long ago. It requires kindness, to ourselves, most of all. It requires remembering that healing is not weakness. It is strength. It is the bravest thing you will ever do. Because choosing to heal means choosing to hope. It means believing, even when everything inside you screams otherwise, that life can be better. That pain is not your final chapter. That you are more than your suffering. You are the author of your story, and your story is not over yet. There are days ahead of you filled with laughter you have not yet heard. There are mornings where you will wake up and feel light instead of dread. There are moments of breathtaking joy waiting just around the corner. Hold on. The darkness will not last forever. You have survived too much already to give up now. You are stronger than your fear. You are braver than your pain. You are more powerful than you know. And someday, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday, you will look back and realize that you are not just a survivor. You are a warrior. A warrior who fought battles no one else could see and won. If you are fighting battles no one can see, know this. You are not imagining it. You are not weak. And you are not alone. Here, we believe the pain the world ignores. We honor the stories hidden behind every forced smile and trembling step. Your journey toward healing is just beginning, and we are walking it with you. Every breath, every battle, every breakthrough. This is BrainTrap TV, and your truth matters here.